Blue Meanie and Jasmine St. Clair are here right now. How are you guys doing today?
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. Glad to finally get here.
Studio?
They're in the studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Made the trip up to New York.
So they've been in the studio before we have.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's nice up here.
How's the studio?
Oh, it's nice. Very, very nice.
They gave us some
Yeah, I know.
baseball
I'm going to
caps,
be in the
too.
studio next week, Thursday and Friday.
They gave us all the IATA gimmicks, so
Yeah.
we're all happy. So
Cool.
sweet.
What are you guys doing?
Well, a few things.
As far as wrestling goes right now, I mean,
Well, wrestling with the ECW situation, we're just trying to keep busy, you know, doing the personal appearances and trying to do some indie work and
Right.
stuff like that. You know, just trying to keep sane. So keep our feet on the ground, and we'll see where the ECW situation goes.
And I'm still training and whatnot with Amanda Guerrero, and I'm just looking at, some other mainstream projects on the other end.
have you thought? I mean, I don't know if Mondo Guerrero's affiliated with it or anything. But what are your thoughts as far as like the women of wrestling thing?
Me?
Were you approached, or would you even care to do something like that?
Quite frankly, no. I mean, I think it's a great promotion. I actually had a friend that was with Glow a long time ago. I think it's a great promotion and everything, but it's not where I would like to be.
I've seen the show. We get the show in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the production's great and all that, but other than that, you know, it's just
Lee
pretty much.
Marshall.
Yeah. It's pretty much Glow and
Yeah.
all that shtick. So it's like, it's campy.
But Mondo's a great instructor, and I love learning from him, and I intend to keep learning as much more as I can.
Oh, Mondo's great.
Yeah.
So your goal basically is to be mainstream women wrestler then. Ultimate,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Blue Meanie, when you've actually been around for how many years have you been around?
6
Because
and a
you were in
half.
the independent scene for many years before you kind of hooked up with ECW, where people kind of heard of you from the first time. A lot of people.
Yeah, I started out with Al Snow in April of '94, and I had my first match in June, and then I just moved back home to the East Coast and started doing all the East Coast indies, and that's where I met up with Raven and Stevie Richards on the indie show in Pittsburgh for Steel City, and they had an idea for a sidekick for Stevie, but the guy that had it in mind wasn't a wrestler and he couldn't do anything really, so they needed this really big guy to wear Stevie's outfit, the half shirt, the Daisy Dukes. And at the time, I really didn't have a gimmick, and I was just looking for a break, and I said, sure, I'll do it, do whatever, and actually, luckily it took off,
So was the Blue Meanie gimmick your idea or Stevie's?
The Blue Meanie gimmick was Raven's, because a couple of weeks before, he had watched the movie The Yellow Submarine. And,
from the Beatles, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I got this great idea, kid. You'll love it. You'll want to paint your whole body blue, kid. And I love Scotty, and he's a great, he has the best mind in his business. And at first, you're kind of gun shy because you don't know what you're getting into. And then I actually went ahead and dyed my hair blue, and the rest of is pretty much me. The whole character, is an extension of myself. I mean, because I was always the class clown in school anyway, so I mean, half the stuff I did was just being me.
What are your thoughts as far as like the whole thing of you kind of had that popular cult thing in ECW, you went to the WWF, and I mean, obviously they brought you in because somebody thought you were really funny in ECW.
Yeah, it was.
And they gave you a couple of things, and then they kind of stopped giving you stuff. Told you to lose weight.
Yeah.
You probably lost more weight than certainly in the Big Show.
Yeah. I was just wondering that because, I mean, nothing. I like, Paul White and all that, but.
He does look fat, doesn't he?
I lost about 150 pounds.
They say he did too, but except he put it on back.
Yeah, he got the
The
catering.
numbers changed.
Yeah, he went to catering at the TVs, and, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I got initially approached by Al Snow. He said Vince Russo was interested in bringing me in. He was interested in bringing me and Stevie in, but Stevie had a problem with his neck injury, and they were a little bit gun shy because they thought he was going to be a liability if something happens with his neck again. And they said, "Would you like to come in? Here's the idea for the Job Squad." I said, "Sure." And I came in, did the thing with the Job Squad, and then. Some reason the Job Squad got disbanded, and I was kind of with Al, and then I was kind of on my own, and then I was doing the angle with Goldust where Goldust stole the head, and I brought up the idea of, Blue Dust. When I do Blue Dust, since I did it in ECW and, try to get revenge for Al, and then I got, my character got married with Goldust. And then, the thing that really went downhill is like after, I had a good run with Goldust, and then Goldust asked for his release and went to WCW, and they pretty much had nothing for me. I wasn't a WWF created character, so it was kind of hard to see, where to take me. I wasn't a Vince McMahon brainchild. I wasn't one of his ideas. So, what do we do with MEANIE? I don't know. Let's do the stuff that we came up with first. That's how I kind of took it. Plus, along with the weight, and they wanted me to lose the weight. So okay, Jim Ross came to me. He was like, did you ever think about losing a couple pounds? And at the time, in ECW, I didn't know what a talent, talent relations was. I didn't know what a road agent was.
How many had them there?
Pardon? Oh, I didn't know. I thought he was talking, Jim Ross to Bryan. I was like, okay, I'll take it in consideration. And then I come back and from the tour in Germany, WrestleMania weekend, they're like, oh, well, maybe if you come back with a whole new coat of paint on you, wink, wink, lose weight, we'll, maybe we'll take you back, but we have nothing for you now. And then the internet campaign started up, and a couple of the people in the locker room went to bat for me, and they brought me back.
This is nothing to do with you guys, but this has to do with a murder case that we've been talking about from Adam Bonin, who is a lawyer from Philadelphia, who says for first-degree murder, premeditation means you need only take a moment before the action takes place. So it can't, you don't have to get up and say, I'm going to kill this guy. You just have to, for a moment, form an intent to kill, and as Bryan said, you don't have to have plotted it. Under Florida law, first-degree murder is when the perpetrated from a premeditated design to affect the death of a person killed in any human being. Okay, so anyway, that's that. I don't even understand that. Bryan, do you understand that?
No.
Okay. This is someone who goes. This is about something you also said, Bryan. Bryan Alvarez, not Brian Heffron. Heavyweight gauntlet match with who? Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, Hawk. Hey, Hawk's not in the company, guys. DDP, Big Daddy, Slow Motion Nash. Give me a break. That's the problem. Is those guys. So.
Yeah, but you had to pick the 5 worst guys you could think of.
No, Jarrett, Steiner aren't the 5 worst guys.
Lance Storm, Mike Awesome.
Okay.
There's guys.
Yeah, Jarrett's not bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great last night, but. He's a good wrestler. Okay, so Brian Heffron. When we left off, we were talking about. You were okay. So they had let you go,
yeah.
And then there was the big internet campaign. So I think is he the only guy that the internet has actually gotten a job back for?
I was just thinking that the other day when they were starting the campaign for God, who was it? Somebody got fired and they're starting a campaign.
Viscera, right?
Yeah, there was a Viscera campaign. There was a new one though, just a couple of days ago. And I thought, has this ever brought anybody back?
And yes, it did.
It was.
I don't think it ever will again, though. But anyway, go. Yeah.
From what I was told, I came back and I was talking to Vince Russo. He kind of pulled me aside and he said that the WWF's email banks were totally inundated with emails from people just writing to bring me back. So that kind of floored me because I was just like, okay, I'm going. I'll just figure something else out. And I wasn't expecting to come back. But, they went nuts. So I was like, great.
Do you know who also may have gotten back in somewhat because of that, not entirely? Was that Jim Ross as announcer on Raw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I remember that.
Because it was very obvious during that period after he had the Bell's palsy the second time, and they did those angles with Steve Williams that, they were trying to, ride him off into the sunset as this, embittered, psycho that, he thinks, you know what I mean? They couldn't have portrayed him worse. And then 3 weeks later, he's just Jim Ross doing announcing again.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite interesting. So they brought you back and sent you to Memphis, and at that point, did they kind of say okay, lose some weight, or how did that?
I came back, and then I had a little run with Stevie because they brought Stevie in, and then me and Stevie had a little angle, and then we went on with the. Blonde Bitch Project, which pretty much went all of one segment. And
I remember that. There was a Sable deal, and then I think
I think they got scared anymore. I think they got scared because they just had the lawsuit with Sable at the time, and they didn't want to keep stirring the pot. So I mean, because at the end of the video, at the end of the whole skit, you see Stevie in Sable's catsuit. You want to do the grind and all this stuff, and I do the gimmick from Blair Witch Project where you go, no, Stevie, and I drop the camera and all that stuff and run off. So I guess that's pretty much why they dropped that one. So.
And then, then basically the Memphis thing came, right?
Yeah, I mean, Memphis was cool. I mean, I did the Survivor Series angle with the Big Show, and where I was supposed to be in, and they beat me in kind tie up, and then the next TVs they're like, oh, we don't need anything for this week. We'll give you a call. So I never got the call. So I mean, I'm just sitting at home, and then they're like, they started up the Memphis thing, and I went down there, and I mean, it was a whole weird situation because it's just I wanted to do something, but the whole idea of Memphis wrestling is pretty much a dead issue. I mean, Rock Memphis was great in the '80s, early '90s, but I mean, people in Memphis don't want to, I mean, nothing against the locals. They don't want to see the locals. They want to see the Raw is War, the SmackDowns, and all that stuff. I mean, they've seen the same thing every week on Saturday morning TV. I mean, my first TV down there from Memphis, they only drew about 20 people. I mean, how exciting, could it, be, to want to, do anything when there's only like 20 people in the seats.
Now, were you were working for Terry Golden? You didn't work for Randy Hales, or did you work for both?
No, Terry was a great guy. I loved working for Terry. I worked for Terry Golden. He used to have his own promotion, KAW, Kick-Ass Wrestling, and I mean, he's got a great mind for wrestling. But I mean, just the area, Memphis itself is just burnt out. I mean, you can send people there all you want, but I mean, it's not going to bring people out. I mean, it wasn't Terry's fault. I mean, he has a great mind. His TV show is very well produced. Him and David Jett put on a incredible TV show. But I mean, just Memphis is dead. I mean, as far as the territory. I mean, the best thing I would think to do is move a territory to the Northeast. I mean, the Northeast has plenty of wrestlers. And, I mean, I think it would draw very well in the Northeast. I mean, especially with guys like Donnie B running up here who draw very well-run independent shows.
Now, how did you two hook up? Was that where was that?
It was originally at a show in New Jersey, an indie show.
Well, we met the year before that. It was a slash rock show.
Slash wrestling, and it was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we met there. But I was busy with a bunch of other things that day, a bunch of other agendas.
She was doing her merchandise. She had her own table set up.
Yeah.
But she also participated in the wrestling part of the show.
I worked with Gilbert that day.
Yeah. Came out with Gilbert versus Doink, and I wrestled some local guy. I can't remember his name offhand. So.
And then we met again back in March. Same promoter, but just a different location. And I did an even gang match with Missy Hyatt. And then I came out later on with some indie worker.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I mean, she was interested in me back in July, but, we were busy doing our own deals and stuff like that. And March came around, we actually got a chance to talk, and, we hit it off. And then I found out, she was very serious into getting into wrestling, and she was training with Sue Sexton.
Yeah, I was training with Sue back at that time, and I actually grew up watching wrestling. And my favorite wrestlers were like Sherry Martel, Sue Sexton, Medusa, Luna. I mean, I love Luna. I thought she was really very talented. And Sherry Martel, I adored. And not only was she beautiful, but she was extremely talented. And, I decided back in February or January of last year, this is what I want to do. So I did some independent shows. I did a few for AWA and just some other small local promotions here and there. And then I worked in March, and that's when I met MEANIE again.
Yeah, and then we did hit it
I didn't even recognize you, by the way.
Yeah, because I lost all the weight by that time, and
you cut your hair off?
Yeah, I chopped my hair off. I got rid of the mohawk / ponytail, and then
mullet.
Yeah, but yeah. I wouldn't call it a mullet, but
okay, whatever.
She threw me off with the mullet reference.
So what did you do as far as losing all the weight?
it was half my own wanting to lose the weight, and then Kevin Kelly referred me to John Warrington, who was headbanger Masha's brother, and he has his own little company in New Jersey, and he's very, very knowledgeable about the human body. I mean, he has his own line of products, and he put me on a specific diet. Mostly it's high protein to low carbs. It's not exactly the Atkins diet. I mean, you're still taking your body needs a certain amount of carbs and a certain amount of protein, and just balancing out and weaning your calories down throughout the day, and taking the vitamins, the fat burners, all that good stuff, and hitting the gym, which is, something I really need to do. I mean, growing up, I had the asthma and stuff like that, so I was kind of shy. I wasn't that athletic, and, being not athletic and not being the best player in school, you kind of get picked on by the other kids. So you get shy away, and you kind of get a little bit, bummed out about it. So when you get bummed out and depressed, you start eating. So I started putting on weight as a kid. So I was fat, unathletic, and all that good stuff. And then the time came where I said, this is enough. I need to lose this weight. I need to get in shape. And John is a great motivator, and he's the one who, lit the fire under my ass. And with him, I lost 150 pounds.
Has it helped your asthma too?
Yeah. As a kid, I was like the boy in a bubble kind of thing. My story's been in a couple magazines where they show me the oxygen tent and all that. And I found the right doctors, growing up, and a doctor out in Moorgate, New Jersey. I don't know if he's still there, Dr. Altamirino. And he got me on the right medications. I had the little machine at home where I took my medicine every day. I took my pills and all that stuff, and eventually I grew out of it. I mean, I still have complications, but it's mostly just from allergies and stuff like that, and change of season, like the fall and then spring, and with all the pollen there, that's when I get bad. But other than that, my asthma's been fine, and I mean the weight loss certainly helped.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people that drop a lot of weight, a lot of times, they start having trouble keeping it off, and it kind of comes back.
Yeah.
Now, you really haven't had that problem, have you?
If anything, I maintain. Like, if I hit the plateau, I'll just stay at the same weight and just coast, and then that's when John will take me, and he'll totally readjust what I've been doing, and throw a little bit something different here and there, and just to shock my body again, and my body starts reacting to it. So the only problem I've had with the weight loss so far is losing all that weight. You kind of get the extra skin and stuff like that. So I'm just waiting for that to snap back, and I don't have as much cushion when I take the bumps now. So I kind of feel them a little bit more, and my knees are a little bit more sore in my back because the pressure's down. So I'm adjusting, and that's why me and Jasmine have been going to Mondo, for her to progress in the wrestling, and then me to get adjusted to working at this weight, and try doing some new stuff. Do
you think it's harder for a woman in wrestling as far as the look required, or for a guy? What do you two think?
I think it varies. I mean, no, I don't think so at all. I mean, I've seen different looks on different girls in wrestling,
I mean, with, the women, I mean, they look for a different aspect as part of the guys. I mean, with the guys, I noticed in WWF, you gotta lose, you can't be overweight. They like guys who are, well built from the chest up. You gotta have the big shoulders that, flare out, the big chest. And they actually, believe it or not, they look at, your skin, does he, take care of his skin and all that stuff, It's just totally weird how they do it, but I mean, these are little things they look for. I mean, they want a good upper body, good skin tone, and all that stuff.
But at the same time, I mean, we can't all look the same, or else it just becomes really boring.
You look like a bunch of robots.
Yeah, I think everyone has to have their own identity and their own thing. Something special about each person.
You can't. No one can always look the same.
Right.
What I'm saying is sometimes I think that's, especially at the top level, I think it's a lot more forgiving for guys. I mean, if a guy is a really good worker, he can have an average physique. But if a woman is a really good worker, it's not that it's not impossible, but it's tougher, I think.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Well, the women's wrestling never really got its fair shake throughout the history. If you look at it, I mean, sometimes it was there when it was hot, like when Wendy Rector and Cyndi Lauper did the big thing in the '80s. Women's wrestling was hot, and then it kind of disappeared for a little bit, and then it came back, and then you had women doing like Rock and Robin and stuff like that, and then it kind of disappeared again. And I believe it's starting to come back. I mean, all the girls are I mean, even if you're just a manager, you gotta be physically able to do it somehow.
To do something besides just stand around the ring like a statue.
Yeah, just I mean, it's good to look good and all, but you just don't want to be a piece of furniture just standing there, waiting for your cue to enter the ring and exit the ring. I mean, you got to do something. To at least earn your spot there. I think. Did
you do any other sports when you were younger, Jasmine?
Oh, definitely, most definitely. Actually. When I was watching the wrestling growing up, I wanted to take wrestling classes, but that wasn't available. I went to private schools around New York City, and the only thing that was offered to me was modern dance, jazz, ballet. I took those, and I did kickboxing, and I still take kickboxing, and soccer. I like soccer.
This is someone who has an idea for some new sitcoms starring WCW wrestlers. Dukes of Hazardous Ratings, starring Jeff Jarrett. Every week, Jarrett drives away the audience in a high-speed chase. Time Traveler, starring Hulk Hogan. Every week, Hogan travels back in time to the days when he was a star. Unfortunately, the audience doesn't travel back in time with him. Kung Fu, The Slowest Generation, starring Kevin Nash, who takes David Carradine's slow-motion fighting and running to new, even slower levels. Delirious, starring Eric Bischoff, CEO of a company in debt and going out of business. Bischoff comes up with new screwy ideas every week to save it. The Man Who Knows No Shame, starring Ric Flair. A down-on-his-luck insanity former wrestling superstar tries to regain his popularity by doing angles that no other wrestler would humiliate himself by doing. Well, I'm going to get a lot of heat for just reading this one. The Invisible Cameraman. A cameraman accidentally drinks a potion that makes him invisible to workers backstage at a wrestling show and is able to share with all the television audience all the boring backstage antics.
Kind of like GTV.
I think all the cameramen are invisible right now, aren't they?
Yes, pretty much. WCW Nitro, an all-star cast attempts to put on a wrestling TV show every week that flops. Salvador Dali Jr., starring Vince Russo. Russo plays the son of a legendary surrealistic painter who, after having inherited his dad's surrealistic mind, gets a job as a wrestling show writer, leaving the paltry audience guessing as to the meaning of his scripts. Mean Gene, starring Gene Okerlund. Gene Okerlund plays a modern-day clueless Mr. Magoo. And The Mothership, starring Dusty Rhodes. Dusty and his wacky flying saucer travel the universe in search of pizza. Some of them were funny. Not all of them were. Let's see. There's one other one that I was going to read here. But this is actually for Brian Heffern, who goes, how do you feel about how the WWF used you, and how do you feel about the RTC gimmick that Stevie is using?
I mean, I just felt fortunate enough to even, make it to the WWF. I mean, let alone just be in wrestling, let alone go to the WWF. I mean, when I told my, family and friends I'm going to grow up, my whole life I said, I want to be a professional wrestler. They're like, you're nuts. I mean, because I couldn't climb a flight of stairs without turning, purple or blue in the face because of the asthma and the weight. So, I mean, I had fun. The best stuff I did there was with Goldust. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we did on the air that was good, and there's, even better stuff we did off the air that, there was a lot of great stuff we did that didn't air. Especially when we did the whole, Goldust is my mommy thing, and the promo we did for it, TV blacked out, and, nobody got to see it. So, but then they never followed up. I mean, I can't complain. I really had a great time there. I loved working there. If they asked me to go back, I'd love to go back because, I have a lot of friends there. A lot of great people are there. They're very great to work for. But, I'm on to a different part of my career now, and we'll see where it goes, especially with the ECW situation. Hopefully, we'll see where that takes us. As far as Stevie's new gimmick, I think it's cool. I mean, it took me a little while to adjust seeing him without the long hair and all that stuff like that, but it kind of, to me, it kind of has shelf life written all over it. I mean,
oh yeah. I
mean, the PTC thing with the WWF, that's, it's good, to poke fun at that. But I mean, what if the, PTC stops, bickering with the WWF, and I mean, then where does the angle go from there? I mean, it's just too much shelf life written on it. It's too 80s kind of, wrestling for me. I mean,
IRS, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it might sound funny coming from me, the guy who wore the half shirt and the Daisy Dukes and the raccoon glasses for 5 years. But I mean, it's kind of too 80ish. It's not against Stevie. I'm glad he's got a spot. He's doing a hell of a job with it. I mean, he took the ball and he ran with it. But I mean, just
What are your thoughts on ECW right now? I know there's some guys that they'll admit that there's some major problems, and there are other guys that kind of are like, it's fine. Paul, figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, Paul will figure something out. I mean, Paul Lee could sell, ketchup popsicles to a busload of nuns. I mean, he can sell anybody on anything. I mean,
he's not being able to sell.
I mean, he hasn't
sold this one though.
I know. But the whole TNN thing really screwed ECW over. I mean, with all the concessions they were supposed to get, TNN didn't hold up to their end of the bargain, and then they canceled us and went to WWF and gave WWF all the access we were supposed to get. I mean, in the long run, I mean, it looked good. Because we had all this access like MTV, Howard Stern, all this stuff. And then, we can, do whatever with advertising and, make money back then. But ECW is spending way too much in production and getting, nothing back from TNN. But now, I mean, ECW is great. I mean, it's young. It's fresh. I mean, you got a lot of guys who are willing to do anything just to, entertain the crowd. I mean, and there's no egos. I mean, people are willing to do whatever it takes, to get the, company over. It's not, there's no one person, if you want to say that. So I think where ECW is going, I mean, Paulie's not going to let it die. I mean, it's his child. He took it from, I mean, the company started off bribing their fans, with hot dog and beer to come to their TV tapings, and then they went to, national pay-per-view. I mean, he took this child and raised it, and, it's going to be a new chapter in the career where, he sends his kid to college if he has to sell it. I mean, if he sells it, great. I mean, but we need TV, too. So, I mean, I see it picking up. I don't see Paulie letting it die. I mean, he's fought too long and too hard for this, and, I mean, he wouldn't let his, only child, just fade away like that.
Let's go to the calls. We're going to start with Brad in Philadelphia. Brad, what's going on?
How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hi. I have two questions, one for Meanie and one for Dave. Dave, first of all, I want to know, what do you think about this trial? Do you think maybe part of the reason with these kind of circumstances where kids are killed with doing wrestling moves is that the media portrays it that it's fake, and they tell everyone that it's fake, and so kids do the moves thinking it's fake, you can't get hurt, and then someone goes and dies because they do it for real, not realizing that people really do get slammed, people really do fall.
It's not just the media. I mean, Vince McMahon's out there saying the same thing, but I think that, when it comes to a 13-year-old, I mean, when you're 13 years old, you know enough that, I mean, the injuries that this little girl had, lacerated liver. I mean, the injuries were a mile long. That was so brutal. And when you're 13, you know enough not to be brutal. And whether you see something on wrestling or not, I don't, whether he was imitating wrestling or not imitating wrestling, I don't see that as any kind of a defense for anything anyway.
By the time you're old enough to lift somebody up and put them in a dangerous position, you should know.
I mean, there's worse things out there than the wrestling, too. I mean, you got all these, videos on MTV where people shooting each other and stuff like that. I mean...
But what about how they're raised? I mean, 13 years of raising someone has way more influence than, a few days or a few weeks or a few months of watching wrestling.
I mean, where's the
lifetime to watch it? I mean, I watched wrestling from... we all did. We all watched wrestling from when we were a little kid, and I don't think any of us ever... considered beating anyone's dad, or even in a situation where you kind of hit someone. I mean, that, I mean, even when you're 8 years old, if you've ever been hit or hit someone, as a little kid, you get hit, you cry, and it's sort of okay, we don't want to do that anymore. You know what I mean? It's so to be, there's different cases. There was the one in Dallas where, I mean, it was like a little kid who was playing with their, like, I forget it was like an infant or something, and threw like a flying clothesline. And I think that when landing, hit it head on the table, which was a freak accident. But they were imitating wrestling. But you know, you could have.
Where's the parents?
You know, it's like things are going to happen if in a universe of so many people in this country, whatever it is, 250 million. There are going to be incidences. There are going to be some incidences out there, and if they're not, I mean, if they're frequent, like if we heard about 50 in a year, I would be alarmed. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that really means in the whole grand scheme of things. Anyway,
I mean, we all did.
I don't know. It's a tough subject, but in this specific case, he was a wrestling fan. But you know, to me, whether he was and whether he actually used moves that he learned while watching wrestling or moves that he learned while watching football or Ultimate Fight or whatever, and this girl was beaten to death, you know, that doesn't absolve anyone of any guilt to me.
I mean, I did the backyard. I mean, everybody grew up watching wrestling. You know, I've been watching since I was 6 years old. And, you know, I broke every piece of furniture in my house, you know, doing the Superfly Jimmy Snuka splash off the, dresser onto my teddy bear. But, I mean, when I threw a punch at my friend, we were playing wrestling, the punches missed by a mile. I mean, we knew it was a work, at 6 years old, you're like, oh, okay, it's real, blah, blah, blah. And then it's pretty much like, finding out there's no Santa Claus. I mean, you find out it's a work. I mean, if you can't, we all did the backyard wrestling, it's a work, and just to say blame wrestling, I mean, when there's a lot worse things out there on TV, it's just ridiculous. I mean, when the whole business came out and said, okay, we're at work, woohoo, I think it's ridiculous.
Plus the whole thing with classifying something as a wrestling move,
Yeah.
Somebody falls down or gets tackled, you call it a football tackle, do you call it a spear? I mean,
do you call
it's
it
not necessarily a wrestling move.
Is it a wrestling takedown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my other question is for MEANIE. What do you think about the fact that you were sent down to Memphis and then eventually let go, and then they sent the Big Show to Ohio Valley, and he was told to lose weight, and they bring him back, put him in a prominent role, and he's twice as big as when he left.
Well, they got that good cooking down south, so, But, I mean, they sent me to Memphis. I was like, okay, I'm a team player. I just want to work. I just want to, have fun, earn a living, and I just want to be in the business, call me a mark, ooh, but, I mean, everybody in the business is a mark for the business. If you're not, then you wouldn't be in it. But, I was okay. I'll go to Memphis. I had to, relocate within 2 weeks and all that stuff. And I was coming home here and there, to visit the family and take care of everything I had to do because I was paying double rent. I was paying double bills. I still take care of my mom and my grandmom. And then when I came home in March or April, my grandmom's health took a turn for the worst. And I debated. I mean, I was leaving to go back to Memphis, and I woke my grandma up to say goodbye. I mean, she could barely move, and I felt like such a heel leaving her in that condition. I mean, what person in their right mind would leave their grandmom like that, when, I'm the only person in the house who can do any physical labor. So I went back down to Memphis that day. I thought it over from the cab ride to the airport, the flight home, going to the TV tapings, if I should ask to go home and take care of my family. I get to the TV tapings, and I, pull Bruce Pritchard aside and said, Bruce, my grandmom's very sick. I'd like to go home and take care of her. I'm the only person in this house who can do anything, physical, go to the store, do laundry, all that stuff. I have to be there for her. And he's very understanding. He said, go home, take care of your family. I was like, hey, even if I could work for Paul, and, you guys can see the TV every week and see how I'm doing. He's like, fine. And he called Paulie, and Paulie said, I could work there. And then I got I went home, and then, ECW was having a little bit of trouble. I couldn't come right away. And then my grandmom's health took an even worse turn. I had to put her in, we had to take her to the hospital. She was in intensive care. I came home from visiting her in intensive care, and that's when I got the call to be released. I did everything I was asked for. I lost, they want me to lose weight. I lost 150 pounds and all that stuff. All I ever asked for is, to spend the last couple months of my grandmom's life with her. I mean, if that's too much to ask, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it kind of bugs me a little. I don't know. But I lost the weight, and then, you know, I'm just here. I'm in ECW. They gave me my release. Okay, I'll just go on, do whatever. But
so now, were you when they gave you the release? Had you started with ECW, or what was the timeline of that?
I got released. I like to say either July, maybe June, July.
Started with them.
No, it was June. It was definitely June because I'm just trying to remember the timeline. It was June, and then we gave Paulie a call, and then Paulie had the idea for, you know, me and Jasmine with the Blue Boy thing, you know, how I lost all the weight and I'm all cocky and arrogant, you know, I got the hot girlfriend and, you know, everything like that. And we said, sure. You know, I mean, we were talking to WCW at the time, but, I mean, it just felt right, you know, to go to ECW. I mean, you go by instinct, and my instinct said, you know, go to Paul. I mean, we really liked the ideas he had.
He's very creative.
Well, for you, as far as like ideas and stuff, that would be the place to go. Because if you had gone to WCW, I mean, it's not like they were going to have any ideas.
Oh yeah, I mean, Vince Russo wanted to bring us into WCW, and I was a little bit gun shy because I think another reason why I was released from WWF is because Vince Russo signed me, and then he took off for WCW. And, you know, when they review your papers, you know, well, you know, Vince Russo signed him, you know, so. And then, you know, he was on the outs for WCW at the time, and I didn't want, you know, the double kiss of death. You know, I mean, if God forbid anything happened and Vince left, and they review, who hired the Bloomy and Jasmine Sinclair? Vince Russo hired him. You know, I didn't want, you know, the double whammy, you know, and then, you know, I'd be getting fired soon. I don't know. So.
Anything else, Brad?
No, that's about it.
Okay, thanks a bunch. All right, let's go to Ryan in Wisconsin. Ryan, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey.
First, I want to thank Dave. I sent some email comments in last night, and you actually posted them on your website, or I don't know if you did, or about how to help out WCW, but
I put it up there. Yeah, you spent a lot of time working on that. The real big one. You get Starcade booked.
I think you put more thought into that company than anyone in that company put together.
I'd actually been working on it for a while, ever since.
Well, it shows. I was looking at that thing and it was like, my God, I mean, you really put some thought into this thing.
But I don't know if Bischoff will ever look at it, but I thought I had a few good ideas. But actually, I wanted to ask Meanie and Jasmine. You guys have both done the wrestling and the managers. I'd like to see, you know, which ones you guys like to do most, and do you think Japan would be the place for you guys, especially with Jasmine, since, you know, unless it was with WOW or whatever is out there for the women, there's not a whole lot of women's wrestling that I know of, except for over in Japan where it's taken real seriously.
I wouldn't want to work for WOW, honestly, or, I mean, I'm not putting it down or anything. I think, like I said before, they have a great production, and, you know, they have a really nice idea. But, I mean, I wouldn't mind working in Japan, you know, if they brought both of us over there, yeah.
I mean,
that'd be a lot of fun. It's an experience, and I don't know about this WOW thing, though.
I did the manager's, the stint as a manager and then wrestler. I prefer the wrestling, you know, it's just an adrenaline rush. I mean, just, you know, to try and capture, you know, a whole bunch of people's imaginations at once, and, you know, have them, you know, have the same emotional responses with the pops and the, you know, the oohs and the ahs. Right. You know, I mean, I love that. And, I mean, as far as Japan goes, I mean, I would love to go to Japan, but I mean, I haven't really followed it all that much, so I followed Japan wrestling a lot when, you know, American wrestling had its downtime in the early 90s, so I started watching a lot of Japanese stuff, and then I just faded off into it, so I don't really know where I would fit as far as Japan goes, so.
Now, Jasmine, are you originally from Milwaukee? Did I read that somewhere?
Never, no.
Oh.
I know, I was at the Milwaukee Metal Fest 2 years in a row.
Okay.
I hosted the event, and I worked with the wrestling show that was there. Originally from New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever, I know there's some indie promotions. I know Jerry Lynn has been doing one in Green Bay that's been getting some TV coverage. Have you guys been contacted by them or thought about going to that? There's like a half-hour show I think they produce.
We haven't been contacted by anybody in Minnesota, but, I mean, we're doing indies. We got one coming up March 3rd for Donnie B. If you go to his website, Big Buck Promotions, BUC. You can check that out. I mean, he runs a very well-run promotion, and I enjoy working for him each and every time. So.
if you guys were contacted by, say, WCW or WWF, and they just wanted one of you guys, would that be a problem? I know, like, you see, like, Luger and Elizabeth, that was, like, one of their big problems as a couple, that, you know, they didn't really want to be separated, or if you both worked for the same federation, you know, they wanted Jasmine to turn on you, or vice versa. Would you guys be comfortable doing something like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, your career always comes first no matter what. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. It's the bottom line. I don't hold anyone back from their career, and I don't expect it to be done to me. I mean, it's been done too many times to me before in the past, where I've had some mainstream options and I was held back from it. And, you know, those days are over. So if he was contacted by WWF or WCW and he went, you know, I wish him the best of luck, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't affect our relationship. I mean, I want Jasmine to do well in whatever she wants to do. I mean, that's her, you know, if she
It's
wanted...
my livelihood.
Yeah, it's your livelihood. You can't,
from that.
you can't, you know, keep, you know, money out of her pocket or bread off her table. I mean, if she wanted to do that, you know, God bless her. I mean, it doesn't feel the way change the way I feel for her, you know. I mean, it'd still be cool.
How would you guys like if one turned on the other?
We've done that before.
We already did that.
Yeah, it was actually really cute.
Yeah, I was working with Kay Quick, who was Kay Crush at the time, and she was my manager, and she turned on me during the match. So that was, you know, if we're in the same, you know, league and she turns on me, that's no biggie.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
As long as Kevin Sullivan doesn't book it.
Got a couple of notes here, and a couple of questions for Blue Meanie on weight loss that we're going to get to in just a second as well. XFL announced its broadcast. No, they're not folding. They announced their broadcast teams, and looking at this thing, the Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler team is like they got the worst thing. They're going to have the least exposure because they're going to do 4 games a week. One of them is going to be on NBC in virtually every market. Then one of them will be in NBC in like 2 markets, which will be the 2 markets of the teams that are played. The B game, which is the one that Ross and Jerry Lawler and Jonathan Coachman will be the announcers for.
Oh, God.
Yep. So 3 wrestling announcers. So the main game on Saturday night, which will be the big one, Matt Vasgersian, who does those TV commercials on play-by-play, Jesse Ventura as the analyst, and the sideline reports will be Mike Adamle, who former football player who did like American Gladiators, and Fred Rogan, who's an LA sports guy from Fred Rogan's Sports Report. Let's see, who used to always cover, was one of the guys covering wrestling when you weren't supposed to do that, so maybe that's where he got in. NBC's second game will be Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, and Jonathan Coachman. They will cut into the second game at times during the A game, so when you watch the NBC game, you'll get to see, and in Birmingham, in front of no fans, here's Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, and Jonathan Coachman. UPN's game, which will be at 4 o'clock Eastern time on, is it Saturdays or on Sundays? So that's 1 o'clock our time. So UPN will do a Saturday afternoon game that they're expecting to get a 5.5. What were those numbers? 3.0 rating.
Wasn't it down? Didn't they just lower it?
I'm talking about what they're selling the ads based on.
Okay.
I know. No. Yeah. Now that'll be lowered. Yeah. But anyway, the UPN team will be Chris Marlowe, who I remember as a very good volleyball play-by-play announcer. Brian Bosworth on color. Michael Barkin, who I don't know, and Chris Raggy, who I also don't know, as sideline reporters. And then the TNN game, which will be. Wait! I take that back. The UPN game is going to be Sunday nights at 7. The TNN game is the one that's going to air Sundays at 4. So TNN's got to do a 2.5 rating at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoons. Boy. Well, Sunday afternoons football time. Well, 2.5. I don't know. We'll see. Craig Minervini, who of course used to be Craig DeGeorge in the WWF, will be doing play-by-play. Bob Golick will be doing the color. And Kip Lewis and Lee Rareman on the sidelines. Lee Rareman, of course, the Roller Jam announcer, who is even more famous for being a former American Gladiator. So that's the scoop on the XFL announcing teams. Now I'll ask about weight loss. Let me see the weight loss questions. I got one, and then WCW.com has just said that Modest and Daniels have both been signed. Somehow that sounds way too quick. It takes a while to process contracts. I'll check on that one, but
and isn't Modest like in Canada right now? Daniels.
He'd have gone in Canada today, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
think on the airplane.
I don't think that they're signed, but we'll find out. Okay, let me see. Where were we? Scott Steiner, Booker T, and Buff Bag will be on Charmed a week from today, 9 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, also a week from today, A&E Behind Closed Doors with Joan London on the power plant. Okay, this is from Evan Roberts, who said, pass this on to Blue Meanie. I just want to let you know that I've just lost 60 pounds, and you and Lance Storm were my big influences. Just like you might want to know that you can impact a life outside of just wrestling. You and Lance Storm.
Cool.
Well, I guess Lance Storm's in good shape.
Yeah, I believe Lance posts a lot of his workout and diet tips on his website.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that means a lot to me that, somebody would actually take the time to write me and, even consider what I've done and influence. I mean, to me, it was just bettering my life. And if anybody else can take a cue from that, then I'm flattered. I mean, I get a lot of letters at my website, too. And, it just means a lot to me when people actually take the time out and write to me. I mean, because it was hard for me. I mean, it was definitely hard. Just re-educate myself to, a new way of life. And, I mean, if I can, just touch one person, not that I'm trying to or anything, if I can affect one person's life, then, that's
Do you have a diet and workout thing on your website?
No. I mean, I get a lot of people saying I should, write a book or something, but, I mean, it takes me,
I mean,
Storm's got a huge one up there.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should check that out.
Because the thing, it's like, it takes like that weird discipline because there's like, I used to have no problem when there was no junk food in the house because I never bought junk food. But when the junk food is actually bought for the house and it's like here and it's just laying there, it's kind of like...
No one's eating it?
It's just calling your name and, you get bored. You're like...
my name late at midnight when I'm hungry and I'm about to go to bed and I see all this candy.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I can go, I'm pretty good disciplined with stuff, but that's like... Sometimes it's hard, especially if you had a bad day and you want to reward yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
You reward yourself for bad days?
What?
Well, yeah, because if I have a good day, I don't need to eat junk food. I'm happy.
Plus, I take certain things. Like, there's certain kind of protein shakes I take, and if I drink them with soy milk, it tastes like chocolate milk, so I feel like I'm cheating. So it's pretty cool. And then the protein bars, they taste good enough. It feels like I'm eating candy, so it's kind of easy. So.
This is from Matt, and just goes, I want to know if I could find out who the guy is who helped Blue Meanie lose all that weight and how he can be reached. I guess that's John Warrington, right?
Yeah, John Warrington. He's in the process of working with a new website. Little plug, tncvitamins.com. And I don't know if it's up yet, but he's slowly in the process of getting that done and up. And I'm going to type up a testimony for his products. And, he helped me, help motivate me. So if I could pass it on,
Okay, let's go to Mike in Philadelphia. Mike, what's going on?
Oh, Mike hung up.
Mike is not there anymore. Andrew in New Jersey. What's going on?
Hey, Dave, what's up?
Not too much.
How you doing, Meanie?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I got a question. I just joined the show late, and this is going to sound kind of like a dumb question, but are you from New Jersey?
Oh, I grew up in Jersey.
Oh, that's cool, because that's where I'm from also.
Sweet.
I don't know. I have a pretty good friend of mine who's looking to get into pro wrestling. He's huge right now. He's about 6'5", 305, 210 pounds. I was wondering if you know any good schools in New Jersey that you might want to look into.
I'm not too sure about Jersey. They still have the Monster Factory, but I don't know how that is. But there's a good school in Baltimore called Bone Breakers, run by Dan McDevitt, Corporal Punishment, and Mark the Shark. And, I mean, they're very good. And a lot of good guys came out of that school. And then there's a good one up in Reading, which Steve Carino runs. And I I can't think of the name offhand. I mean, I wish I could, but, Is
the ECW school still around?
No. It was run by Taz, and then it kind of shut down after Taz left. So I'm sure, hopefully, once everything's up and running again, they'll have a new instructor there and get the ball rolling with that.
All right, cool. Dave, I just got one quick question for you. Mm-hmm. I've been reading all over the internet that Vince McMahon wants to bring back Hulk Hogan, and I was wondering, what do you think would happen if Vince did bring back Hogan? Do you think he'd do all the jobs to Stone Cold and The Rock, or do you think he'd throw a little hissy fit like he did in WCW over there?
Oh, boy. It would be... It's not like he's going to not do the jobs. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem
figure
is
out a way to avoid it.
Yeah.
In a kind of like Hunter, you know.
There's a manipulative thing, and then the other thing is that like there's a certain thing when it comes to morale, and I mean the Big Show thing has, I mean I've heard the buzzing in the last 2 days, and all of the things that you would expect. Well, a lot of what happens as far as like morale of wrestlers, you can kind of sit here on the outside, and the stuff you expect is usually the stuff that the wrestlers themselves worry about. Like in the WWF, they're worried about the XFL, how much money the XFL is gonna. If the XFL is a big loser, will it hurt their paychecks? Will it take Vince McMahon's time away? That type of stuff. The other thing, like they see the Big Show coming in and getting the monster push, and then those guys who were there working hard didn't get the push, and then I know this isn't from Kurt Angle because Kurt Angle himself, he's very new in the business, and you heard him on the show. He's very trusting, and he's been very lucky because he's so good that he's gonna be a superstar in this business. He already is, but there are guys there that kind of see that they think Kurt Angle doesn't get the the credit that he deserves because he is so nice. So there's those little things around. If Hogan went there.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking here, like, man, could you ever imagine Hogan just getting pinned right in the middle of the ring by a stunner or a rock bottom?
Oh, he will. I think Hogan will, because he let Sting pin him. But he'll manipulate. He can be really clever in manipulating in a way where it doesn't look that bad, but he's not going to not do the finishes.
Yeah, I'm just like, or he's going to also Hulk up after getting, like, the people's elbow and doing all that other stuff. Actually, it might be appropriate with the people's elbow, but...
Plus, there's ways, you can, go down and still, stay strong. So, I don't think, there's no way you can, kill Hulk like that.
Yeah. He did a lot for the business, but...
Yeah, plus when you bring somebody somebody new into a new league or, new federation, whatever you want to call it, you don't want to come in, like, right at the top because, where can you go from there? It's not like Spinal Tap where their, amps go to 11. If you can only go to 10, if you come in at 10, where do you go? You want to come in. Like, they brought in Jericho and slowly built him up. They're bringing in Raven. They're slowly building him up.
Yeah, I don't know. If they bring back Hogan...
If they bring in Hogan, it isn't going to be the same as Jericho and Raven.
Yeah, they're going to...
Oh, I know. It'll be in reverse.
Yeah, I know.
Look at how many jobs that Hogan did for Kidman and Vampiro that nobody ever remembers.
Because I remember he did the one...
He knew exactly how to do it.
But, like, it was all that interference and stuff, and, like...
The thing isn't the jobs that's the problem, but the thing is the guys that are going to go in there. They're all going to be not trusting, but then he will charm a lot of them at the same time, because if you ever notice, like, a lot of wrestlers, that should know better don't when it comes to Hogan.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there's going to be that thing. He's going to have to be in a featured role because he's Hulk Hogan, and all of a sudden...
just like having the opening role.
No, well, why do you pay a $1 million a year to be in the opening match?
Yeah,
he's not going to come cheap.
Like...
So he's got to be in a featured role, and then the thing is, okay, now what do you do? If you put him in there with The Rock and Stone Cold, you're not going to have the main event quality that we're used to. That's got to be taken into consideration. If you feud him with Vince McMahon, nobody expects a good match, so that's okay. They could probably deliver a better match than people expect, and everyone's happy, and they can do the interviews back and forth.
Or something.
But they'll get through it. They'll get through it. But the thing is like, I don't know that you would. I don't think Vince McMahon would want to bring him in and have him out there, with Hunter and with Rock and with Stone Cold and those people in main events. I think that the right role for Hogan is probably to, work in more of a comedy role in the middle and just take advantage of his name value and things like that. So, but will Hogan want to come in and not be at the top when he can go to WCW and run everything?
Be over everybody and get the world title at the snap of his fingers.
Yeah, maybe getting it sooner than you think. WCW wouldn't. Although Bischoff says he knows better now, but hey, time will tell. Time will tell. I don't know.
All right, well, thanks.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Take care.
Okay. Jasmine.
Huh?
What have you encountered any problems as far as wrestling, as far as just because of your background, or has it just been something that no one's really brought up?
No, not at all. Because I did the right thing. I was serious enough to leave that behind me, and, quite frankly, no one's ever really brought it up because it's forgotten, and quite frankly, I mean, I'm in a job now where I could actually say this is the first job I've ever had in my entire life that I love, and I love the people that I work with. Everything in the past to me that was in my past in that era that you're referring to was a joke, and, you know, I just got sick of dealing with moronic, irresponsible people, if that's what you want to call them. You know. No. I don't like dealing with people that are out of touch with reality and just live in their own delusional world.
Whoa.
That's true.
Not only did she burn the bridge to that path, she blew it
up. But why would I care? I mean, that's not even a real, it's nothing. It's like a joke.
Right, you know.
I think people in, well, I don't know.
Well, honestly,
people in wrestling are pretty delusional, but
yeah, but this is different. I mean, it's mainstream. It's real. I mean, it's a great place to be. I mean, the people here are great, and I love it here. To be honest with you, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you grew up in Jersey, but the first I remember of you is like out of Michigan. How did you hook up without snow? When
I was in high school, when I was reading the Observer Weekly, they used to have the thing where people would send in their plugs and requests, and there was a request for Malenko School, and then I sent a letter. You know, I was sending out feelers, you know, trying to find out, you know, right school to go to. I tried out the Monster Factory, and wasn't. I mean, it didn't really, you know, pique my curiosity. So I sent a letter down to the Malenko's camp, and I kept in correspondence with a lady there, Phyllis Lee, and I mean, she's pretty much like a den mother to a lot of the wrestlers. I mean, she helped get X-Pac into wrestling and stuff like that, and all the boys know her and love her dearly. And, I mean, we corresponded for a little bit over 6 months to a year. And, the only deciding factor that didn't have me go to Malenko School was, you know, the cost of living down there was pretty expensive as far as, you know, renting an apartment down there. And then she brought up, well, there's, you know, this other school, you know, Al Snow. And I just started hearing of Al through, the newsletters and, you know, the videotape traders and stuff like that. That he has a school, it's the same amount of tuition, but, you know, the cost of living is a little bit more, you know, reasonable. I mean, and I pretty much went there in blind faith. I mean, I'd never seen Al wrestle, or, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I just packed up my car and drove from Atlantic City to Lima, Ohio.
So you basically just, now, how old were you when you made this trek?
I was 20, going on 21. And then I graduated high school at a later age, and then I worked for a year and a half and saved up all my money and then went on the trek on to Al's. And, I mean, the road story, I mean, the trip there is a story in itself. I mean, anything that could have went wrong on that trip did. And by the time I got to Al's, and then I said, hi, I'm looking for Al. I was like, oh, hi, I'm Al, and I have to go right now. And he ran off because he had to get parts for the ring and stuff like that. So I'm sitting there with some of his students that, you know, were just almost had me walk out the door and drive back to Atlantic City. I was just guys walking around in their gimmicks and just like, you know, believing their gimmick. Like one guy called Pete the Pirate, he's walking around in his pirate outfit going, "Arr!" I'm like, alrighty then. I think I'll be going now.
Any other big names training there with you?
There's a lot of
Pete the Pirate.
Pete the Pirate, man. Oof, I smell money, amongst other things. But
loot.
Yeah. What's it called? There's a lot of talented people that were working out there at the time. Like, you know, I met Pee Wee Moore there my first couple days there, the referee, and there's guys like Steve Nixon, and there's a guy who's really good on the indies out in the Midwest right now, Jimmy V. He trained there, and then Dan Severn was there, and there's a bunch of talented guys there that, you know, either had to couldn't handle, paying bills, handle their wrestling hobby, couldn't afford a wrestling hobby, or just flaked out,
When you started, did you give yourself like a timetable of like, or did you just go in there and like, because there's so many people who go to wrestling schools, and the number of those who actually like make it is like such a tiny percentage, and
wasn't that 1 in 10 according to that one Florida story?
Oh, it's got to be way less than 1 in 10. Do you have any idea what you think would be?
It's got to be like 1 in 75?
I mean, when I went,
I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, when I went to house school, I mean, I really had no set goals. I mean, this was, you know, if I do it, I do it. If I fail, I fail, and I'll just go on and, you know, flip burgers or something. I don't know. But I went there. I had no set goals. I didn't go, okay, this is going to be my gimmick. I'm going to be this wrestler. I'm going to come in the ring to this music. I'm going to wear this outfit. And you know, I'm going to be huge. You know, I didn't go in there with that mindset. I was just, you know, baby steps. I took it one step at a time. I mean, there was one guy who came in to train with Al. He hadn't even taken one bump, hadn't even stepped through the ropes, but he had his business cards printed up, and he had a gold.
I know people like that.
He has a gold-plated business card holder with his gimmick engraved into the card holder. I'm like, well, how long have you been in business? He's like, oh, I haven't even been wrestling yet. And he lasted 2 days and left. I mean, it was just like that MTV special they had, True Life Story, where that kid's
Dan Paglia.
He's like posing in the mirror, shaving. I'm going to have these eyes. I mean, you run into a lot of goofs.
All the time.
I mean, there's a lot of goofs in it. I mean, there's some lovable goofs that are actually successful. Then you get goofs that are just
delusional.
Delusional. I mean, they already got their gimmick set. I'm going to come out to this music.
I mean, it's so weird because it's like there's people who will walk in and think that like I've got my gimmick. Now I'm going to be in the WWF. Teach me a few moves.
Yeah, that's all they think it takes. I mean, nowadays I think I should have went to the NFL. Maybe I would have got a bigger break in the business. You know, bring me in and cross promotion. But I mean, traditional route nowadays. But I mean, you go into a wrestling school, you can't have that attitude. I mean, you just got to shut up and listen. And that's all I did was shut up and listened and took, you know. I mean, you also got to find the right school, too. I mean, there's a lot of places out there, oh, yeah, we'll train you, they'll take their money, and then, you know, they're off on the computer while you're in the ring. I mean, you get those goofs, too, who have their own school. I mean, you've been in the business 1 year and you got a wrestling school. I mean, come on. Please.
I want to make mention, as far as the Modest and Daniels thing, with their website, WCW website actually said it did not say that they have signed. I will actually read what it says. It says, first, congratulations to Chris Daniels and Mike Modest. After breaking their backs in a tryout match and having their legs broken afterwards, both men were offered contracts with the promotion. Both have accepted and are looking forward to working for WCW. So basically that means verbal, which, you know, I can believe that. They both wanted to go there. But I was thinking, like, there's no way that whole thing's been signed and all that in a day. It makes no sense.
I remember
someone says that on a website, it says, it credits me for saying that Mike Modest sustained a pinched nerve in his neck from the match. Well, it was Chris Daniels who suffered the pinched nerve in his neck. So anyway, that's the deal there.
I remember when I first started out.
And says the reason the ratings are down is because of Steve Austin. His time has come.
I don't know if Dave can hear you. Hey, Dave, can you hear Brian?
I didn't hear him a second ago, no.
Oh, no, I was just going to put over Chris Daniels to say, when I first started out, he was one of the few guys. I mean, when you asked, you know, who was, you know, breaking in when I broke in, I used to drive out to Chicago and work shows with him. He's an incredible talent. I'm glad he's finally, you know, doing something.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize that Chris Daniels, you know, grew up in the Carolinas, actually started wrestling in Chicago. Everyone thinks of him like as a California guy.
Yeah, he's been at some shows in California.
I mean, he's living in California now, but yeah, I mean, that's where, I guess he must have moved there a couple of years ago, because first I heard of him was, as far as outside of Windy City Wrestling. Which would have been the first I heard of, you know, Christopher Daniels and Kevin Quinn.
That's where I met
was for Billy Anderson shows in Southern California.
Yeah.
A couple of wrestlers that I knew would go like, you know, have you ever heard of the Fallen Angel? And it was like, no. And Christopher Daniels, yeah, his name sounds familiar out of Chicago. And they go, he's really good. This is, you know, probably 3 years ago. Let's see. Someone says the reason the ratings are down is because of Steve Austin. His time has come and gone, and the only thing that made him stand out was his use of language and expletives and being an unquote badass. Not to mention that he had really good matches all the time. Well, the Rock has better promos and more fans and is a better all-around babyface. HHH is the resident badass in the Federation nowadays. Say what you want about Austin. The fact is, if you took out Steve Austin and inserted Benoit, Jericho, Van Dam, Lynn, the ratings would jump. I don't agree. Don't agree. Vince and Eric are ignorant to the fact that you have to give the fans what they want. Oh, they know that. They just don't. they just have their ideas of what the fans want, and also
the thing is, you got to give the biggest segment of fans what they want. I mean, if 80% of the fans want to see Steve Austin and 20% want to see Rob Van Dam, well, you're gonna get Austin.
Yeah, and no one, wrestling is a weird thing. I got to tell you a story about that, about giving the fans what they want, because I actually can say that Paul Bosch was a great promoter in Houston for many, many years. Used to kind of say that you have to give them what they want, but they don't know what they want. Because if you ask them and then deliver what they tell you, you won't draw. And he said that he once did a thing where they did something and they had they used to run like weekly in Houston, and he would have people like he had a thing in the program and says, fill in the match that you want. And it was whoever it was with the two top baby faces in the territory against each other, because it was a match that they wouldn't normally book. And it's kind of like the dream match all these people had. So then he booked that match, and he drew like a terrible house. And then he realized that you have to give the fans what they want, but you can't ask them what they want.
You have to tell them.
You have to brainwash them. There's that word again, into wanting something, and then deliver it, and or sell them on it, or whatever word you want to use. But it's not it's not simple. It's not a simple science. If it was, more people would be making money in wrestling. But anyway, it says if they had listened instead of Haku, the surprise would have been Rob Van Dam or Jerry Lynn. Imagine what type of ratings Eric would do if he announced a Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn match to go up against the Start of Raw. If he just threw Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn on Monday night in
do a 1-3 like it did on TNN.
Well,
maybe not that low, but
no, it would do a 1-9.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I mean, you've got to build people up to wanting it. You can't just throw things out there cold. You got. I mean, you can present like what they remember when they did the Goldberg Scott Steiner cage match at Nassau Coliseum, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it did like a 2.2 rating because they did no build up. I mean, you have to. If you have a match, Goldberg Scott Steiner cage match should have been a real big deal in WCW, but you gotta make people want it. Hold it back, hype them on it, and then deliver it when they want it, rather than give it to them before they even know they want it, because then then it doesn't even have any reaction. It's not easy. Sometimes I think it's not that difficult, but it's also not that easy either. I think sometimes it's made more difficult because people, when they get in a room, they think too much. Exactly. Like I've goofed around with people in WCW, and we start on ideas, okay? And usually the ideas in the first 5 minutes are really good, because about 25 minutes in, we're adding layers to these ideas that are making us laugh. And you know what? It sucks best Nitro. It really would, because you know what I mean. So anyway, that's my speech on that. Now, let's go through here. Bryan, as far as do you have right now, as far as if ECW doesn't make it, kind of a backup plan, and kind of just kind of hoping, working that next pay-per-view and things like that, waiting for the next pay-per-view, or what's your mindset on everything right now?
I mean, in a perfect world, I really want, the next pay-per-view to come around and, ECW sign everything and everybody be happy and, make money. But, I do have a lot of extracurricular ideas I'm thinking of. Right now we're in talks with Mike Shank and all them about the people who did the movie American Movie. They want us to be in their sequel movie. It's no title yet, but it's starting that maybe around February or March. And then Jasmine's always got her modeling and stuff like that, and doing fashion layouts and doing the appearances in indie work. But you always weigh these options out. You always look 2 miles down the road and see what happens. But right now, I mean, I've always had the option of, the mentality of, I'll land on my feet somehow, somewhere, and, I'll ride the wave where it takes me. If right now I'm hoping things work with ECW. If they don't, then, I already have a few ideas of what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Are you, as far as, your wrestling career, are you pretty much, do you think it would get this, did you think it would get this far, or did you just kind of take it and this is where it's at? Like when you first started, did you really know what you were getting into, and you know what I mean? Especially when you first got to the WWF, did you kind of go, wow, I never thought I'd make it here, or was it one of those things where you did think you would make it there?
I never thought I'd get past wrestling school. I mean, the stuff I was going through, and, you know, your body starts aching, you go, you know, the slightest thing, you go, oh, that hurts. But, I mean, then your body gets used to it, and then you start getting your cardio up, and it actually starts becoming fun, and I never thought I'd even get into ECW. I mean, I got ECW my first 10 months in the business, probably, and, I mean, I never even expected to get that far. I mean, and then you get to the WWF and you're waiting in a gorilla position and you step out on the Raw stage and you're just like, wow. And you see all the folks. I mean, you're used to wrestling, you know, in Jim Thorpe in front of 200 people, and then you go to, you know, the First Union Center in Philadelphia, and it's amazing. You know, I'm just grateful for everything that's come my way and every opportunity I've had, because basically I shouldn't be here right now. You know,
were you intimidated by, like, the first time you stepped out in front of, like, a crowd of 10,000 people or 15,000 people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my heart was up in my throat pounding. It's just, you know, I mean, if somebody says they don't get nervous, they're lying. I mean, you get those pre-match jitters and all that stuff, but, I mean, when you see everything that goes into it, and it's a real big deal. I mean, and you step out there and there's 10,000 people looking at you at the very exact same time. I mean, it's an incredible rush. I mean, I might be Bryan in the gorilla position, but I'm definitely somebody else when I walk through the curtain.
For both of you guys, when, I mean, you know, Jasmine, you mentioned some of the women wrestlers that you liked when you were...
I love it, yeah. I mean, I totally admire them.
Men wrestlers that you liked, and Bryan, I mean, were there any wrestlers...
I was a very
big... watching wrestling where, you know, they were like your favorites or something like
that?
Yeah,
Jimmy Snuka. Who else did I like? I liked the Ultimate Warrior. I actually had a crush on him, but I thought he was phenomenal. Hulk Hogan. I like a lot of the Japanese wrestlers, too. I wasn't sure of the names because the names were just difficult to pronounce. Or just felt really different. But those were my favorites. I liked Hulk. I liked the Ultimate Warrior. I liked Snuka. I loved the Rockers.
The Rockers.
Yeah. Rick Martel. Brutus the Beefcake Barber. Who else? Playboy.
Playboy Buddy Rose?
Yeah.
Oh, Buddy
He was
Rose.
a lot of fun to watch.
Buddy Rose was a very talented man.
He was. He was very entertaining.
He's very incredible. I mean, I just pulled out an old tape of Buddy Rose versus Bob Backlund.
Oh, yeah. It was just a lot of Buddy Rose stuff on there. I also liked King Kong Bundy.
Didn't Sherry Martel start with Buddy Rose?
Yeah, she was his valet at the time. She used to comb his hair.
She was actually in the tape that we watched, and I actually had the honor of meeting her this past summer, back in July, in Milwaukee. We worked a mixed tag match with her, and she is one of the nicest women in this business that I've ever met.
Okay, I guess we are totally out of time right now. I want to thank you two guys for dropping by.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bryan, of course, for being here. And tomorrow we're going to have Bruno Sammartino, so it should be quite an interesting show, and we'll see everybody tomorrow at 5.
Keep learning as much more as I can.
Oh, Mondo's great.
Yeah.
So your goal basically is to be mainstream women wrestler then?
Ultimately, Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Blue Meanie, when you've actually been around for... How many years have you been around?
6
and a half. You were in the independent scene for many years before, you know, you kind of hooked up with ECW, where people kind of heard of you from the first time, a lot of people.
Yeah, I started out with Al Snow in, was it April of '94, and I had my first match in June, and then I just moved back home to the East Coast and started doing all the East Coast indies, and that's where I met up with Raven and Stevie Richards on the indie show in Pittsburgh for Steel City, and they had an idea for a sidekick for Stevie, but the guy that had it in mind wasn't a wrestler, and he couldn't do anything really, so they needed this really big guy to, you know, wear Stevie's outfit, the half shirt, the Daisy Dukes. And at the time, you know, I really didn't have a gimmick, and I was just looking for a break, and I said, sure, I'll do it, you know, do whatever, and actually, luckily it took off, you know.
So was the Blue Meanie gimmick your idea or Stevie's?
The Blue Meanie gimmick was Raven's, because a couple of weeks before, he had watched the movie The Yellow Submarine. And,
from the Beatles, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I got this great idea, kid. You'll love it. You know, you'll want to paint your whole body blue, kid. And I love Scotty, and he's a great, he has the best mind in his business. And at first, you know, you're kind of gun-shy because you don't know what you're getting into. And then I actually went ahead and dyed my hair blue, and the rest of, you know, is pretty much me. The whole character, you know, is an extension of myself. I mean, because I was always the class clown in school anyway, so, I mean, you know, half the stuff I did was just being me.
What are your thoughts as far as, like, the whole thing of you kind of had that popular cult thing in ECW. You went to the WWF, and I mean, obviously they brought you in because somebody thought you were really funny in ECW.
Yeah, it was.
And they gave you a couple of things, and then they kind of stopped giving you stuff. Told you to lose weight.
Yeah.
You probably lost more weight certainly than the Big Show.
I was just wondering that because, I mean, nothing. I like, Paul White and all that, but
he does look fat, doesn't he?
I lost about 150 pounds.
They say he did too, but except he put it on back.
Yeah, he got the catering.
Numbers changed.
Yeah, he went to catering at the TVs, and I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I got initially approached by Al Snow. He said Vince Russo was interested in bringing me in. He was interested in bringing me and Stevie in, but Stevie had the problem with his neck injury, and they were a little bit gun shy because they thought he was going to be a liability if something happens with his neck again. And they said, "Would you like to come in? Here's the idea for the Job Squad." I said, "Sure." And I came in, did the thing with the Job Squad, and then some reason the Job Squad got disbanded, and I was kind of with Al, and then I was kind of on my own, and then I was doing the angle with Goldust where Goldust stole the head, and I brought up the idea of, Blue Dust. When I do Blue Dust, since I did it in ECW, and try to get revenge for Al, and then I got, my character got married with Goldust.
You don't have to get up and say I'm going to kill this guy. You just have to, for a moment, form an intent to kill, and as Brian said, you don't have to have plotted it. Under Florida law, first-degree murder is when the perpetrated from a premeditated design to affect the death of a person killed in any human being. Okay, so anyway, that's that. I don't even understand that. Brian, do you understand that?
No.
Okay. This is someone who goes. This is about something you also said, Brian. Brian Alvarez, not Brian Heffron. Heavyweight gauntlet match with who? Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, Hawk. Hey, Hawk's not in the company, guys. DDP, Big Daddy, Slow Motion Nash. Give me a break. That's the problem, is those guys. So,
yeah, but you had to pick the 5 worst guys you could think of?
No, Jarrett, Steiner aren't the 5 worst guys.
Lance Storm, Mike Awesome.
Okay.
There's guys.
Yeah, Jarrett's not bad. Wasn't that great last night, but, he's a good wrestler. Okay, so Brian Heffron. When we left off, we were talking about... You were okay. So they had let you go, and then there was the big internet campaign. So I think, is he the only guy that the internet has actually gotten a job back for?
I was just thinking that the other day when they were starting the campaign for God, who was it? Somebody got fired and they're starting a campaign.
Viscera, right?
Yeah, there was a Viscera campaign. There was a new one though, just a couple of days ago, and I thought, has this ever brought anybody back?
And yes, it did. It was. I don't think it ever will again though. But anyway, yeah.
From what I was told, I came back and I was talking to Vince Russo, and he kind of pulled me aside and he said that the WWF's email banks, and then the thing that really went downhill is after, I had a good run with Goldust, and then Goldust asked for his release and went to WCW, and they pretty much had nothing for me. I wasn't a WWF created character, so it was kind of hard to see, where to take me, I wasn't a Vince McMahon brainchild. I wasn't one of his ideas. So, what do we do with Blue Me? I don't know. Let's do the stuff that we came up with first. That's how I kind of took it. Plus, along with the weight, and they wanted me to lose the weight. So, okay. Jim Ross came to me. He's like, did you ever think about losing a couple pounds? And at the time, in ECW, I didn't know what a talent, head of talent relations was. I didn't know what a road agent was.
How they had them there?
Pardon? Oh, I didn't know. I thought he was talking, Jim Ross to Bryan. I was like, okay, I'll take it in consideration. Then I come back and from the tour in Germany, WrestleMania weekend, they're like, oh well, maybe if you come back with a whole new coat of paint on you, wink, wink, lose weight, we'll. Maybe we'll take you back, but we have nothing for you now. And then the internet campaign started up, and a couple of the people in the locker room went to bat for me, and they brought me back.
This is nothing to do with you guys, but this has to do with a murder case that we've been talking about from Adam Bonin, who is a lawyer from Philadelphia, who says for first-degree murder, premeditation means You need only take a moment before the action takes place. So it can't, Blue Meanie and Jasmine St. Clair are here right now. How are you guys doing today?
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. Glad to finally get here.
Studio?
They're in the studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Made the trip up to New York.
So they've been in the studio before we have.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's nice up here.
How's the studio?
Oh, it's nice. Very, very nice.
They gave us some baseball
I'm going to
caps
be in the
too.
studio next week, Thursday and Friday.
They gave us all the IATA gimmicks, so
Yeah.
we're all happy. So
Cool.
sweet.
What are you guys doing?
Well, a few things.
As far as wrestling goes right now, I mean,
Well, wrestling with the ECW situation, we're just trying to keep busy, doing the personal appearances and trying to do some indie work and
Right.
stuff like that. Just trying to keep sane, so keep our feet on the ground, and we'll see where the ECW situation goes.
And I'm still training and whatnot with Amanda Guerrero, and I'm just looking at, some other mainstream projects on the other end.
have you thought? I mean, I don't know if Mondo Guerrero's affiliated with it or anything, but what are your thoughts as far as like the women of wrestling thing?
Me?
Were you approached, or would you even care to do something like that?
Quite frankly, no. I think it's a great promotion. I actually had a friend that was with Glow a long time ago. I think it's a great promotion and everything, but it's not where I would like to be.
I seen the show. We get the show in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And, the production's great and all that, but other than that, it's just
Lee
pretty much.
Marshall.
Yeah. It's pretty much Glow and
Yeah.
all that shtick. So it's like, it's campy.
But Mono's a great instructor, and I love learning from him, and I intend to